Hey everybody, this is Joey Tuccio with the Roadmap Writers Network, and I'm here with Nicholas Bogner, and he's going to answer your questions right now. So, hey Nicholas.
Hi everybody, Nicholas Bogner, nice to meet you. Let me first of all tell you a little bit about myself, so to preempt you. I've been a manager for the last 8 years, which isn't that long considering, because a lot of people are former agents and they get fired and they become a manager. I'm not one of those people. I'm at the dinner party and I've sat in everybody's seat, not on your lap, but just in all the seats at the dinner party table, because I've been a writer, got a couple of movies made a bunch of years ago. I've been a film executive for actor Michael Douglas and actor and couch jumper Tom Cruise. I've been a network executive, so I've been a buyer at TNT, which means if you want to have lunch with me, you come to me as opposed to me going to you. So I miss those days. And then about 8 years ago, management became a really interesting opportunity to kind of bet on myself and build up a business and joined a firm that has a great talent base. So I work with actors as well. I don't know why writers aren't called talent, but they should be. But I work with talent, and I also work with writers and directors. So that's a little bit about myself.
Cool. So because the writers are going to be sending you some written pitches, what do you look for personally in a pitch? Do you like them structured a certain way? Anything writers should omit or definitely include?
Well, there's a difference between pitches for television and pitches for movies, of course. I think that the thing you have to think about, back to the dinner party analogy, again, you don't have to invite me to the dinner party if you don't want to, but you're telling a story, make it as if you've just met somebody and it's like, hey, I want to tell you this great story. And when you tell stories, you don't get too caught up in plot. I think the pitches that are very memorable, the characters really pop out of the pitch. And also, I love pitches where the voice of the writer is reflected in the pitch. It's a very difficult conceit because you've got all this information that you're trying to get out and you've got a limited amount of time. But if you can capture the tone, and I don't mean you've got to suddenly become a comedian, but just, it's a bit of an enigma when you say that, the voice of the writer, but it's as if, like, writers of mine, when they write treatments and they've sold the project, I say you've got to mimic your writing style so people don't get bored when they read the treatment. It's got to be engaging and active. And again, don't get too swallowed up by the plot, because my theory about stories and movies and whatnot, things that you love 5 years later, very rarely do you remember the plot. You remember some great characters, remember some great scenes. So kind of character first is my takeaway.
Cool. And so you got the pitch, you want to read the script, so you read the script. What are some of the best things writers can do to capture your attention by page 15?
I mean, that's a good question, because page 15 is kind of a seminal number. I mean, you kind of know whether you want to keep reading. I mean, to be honest, you kind of know by page 5. But more often than not, if I don't know the writer, I'll give them at least 15 pages. And, as I referenced, when you pitch, I want to hear the voice of the writer. And I remember a writing team that I signed, and there was just this description very early on in the script, and it said that, the guy, Harry, whatever his name is, he's 6'4", but he walks like a short man, or I'm getting it wrong, but he's got the, he's 6'4", but the attitude of somebody 5'7". And I love that description because it just told me that this character has no confidence and he's just a certain kind of person. And when you can do that economically, you pull me in. So a lot of people feel like they've got to overwrite, over-describe. I think that's a really dangerous tendency. remember not to write things that we can't visualize. There are reading drafts and there's, shooting drafts, but I really get annoyed when somebody does something that it would be impossible for the audience to know. And so really think about ways to visualize your storytelling. And, crisp dialogue, of course, good characters, don't get over wordy. I think, like, I'm getting over wordy right now. I've stopped reading. I'm like, throw out my script.
And I get this question all the time. When writers are approaching managers, how many scripts should they have?
Minimum of 2. I mean, I mean this. I read something, and I did it once. I signed somebody off of 1 script, and the next, a year later, it took too long. I never liked anything else they wrote. So I've got to know that the 1 script isn't a fluke, because maybe it's your personal story and, it's the only thing you can write, which is great. Maybe there's a chance to sell that particular project. But for me, I'm in it for the long run and the longevity of it all. So I'm really looking for minimum of 2 scripts. It's great if there's a feature and a 1-hour pilot. The pilot has to be an original. It can't be, a TV show that's already on the air. That used to be the old way that everyone used to do. You write, one of your favorite shows, but people want to know that you can write character and set a world on fire. So 2 things minimum for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And besides a solid script, what else do you look for in a client?
Personality. I mean, it's not good enough just to be good on the page. You've got to be good in a room, because, it's. I'll go back to the dinner party. You want them to invite you. You're spending a lot of time with a writer, and you got to like them. You got to be interested in them. So if you're going to go off for a drink after a writing session, that's a fun thing to do. I mean, look, it's not, you don't have to become their best friends, but you've got to deliver in the room the way you deliver on the page. I mean, some people are definitely, like, I represent actors too. Some are better in self-tape or better on set than they are auditioning. But it's a skill set that you've got to overcome, because it will be your undoing, unfortunately.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Nicholas, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. And we will talk soon.